Watch this.
It's Reaction Monday after a whirlwind of developments within the Idaho GOP. News late last week that 6 key leaders with the Ada County Republicans have resigned. We're getting response from the state and county party about these departures.
Everywhere we look, there's PFOS in rivers, drinking water, surface waters, groundwater.
Tap water across the country may be harming people's health. A new national study says that 45% of United States tap water has at least one type of synthetic chemical in it. Our Sophia Bliss listened to 2 different studies that found chemicals in the Northwest.
I don't think anybody can interpret petroglyphs who was not really living here at the time they were made.
We're taking a look at the history of Indigenous Peoples Day by taking you back 29 years in an exploring Idaho to see some Native American art that is scattered across our state. The 208 on your Monday starts now. Yes, it is a Reaction Monday, Monday morning quarterback, if you will. This is after a weekend away to process a development out of the Idaho Republican Party. Back on Friday, we discussed the departures of leadership with the Ada County Republican Party. The county chair, 3 vice chairs, treasurer, and a state committee woman in a group resignation letter said that they're out. And the departing letters accused the Idaho Republican Party, Idaho GOP state leadership of unethical behavior, including bullying, intimidation, leaking of confidential documents, and actively undermining the Ada County Party's effectiveness and legitimacy. We went in depth on the issue and that the now resigned see with the county party, and kind of what they see issues with at the state party level as well. And we encourage you to go read that full report. It's available right now at ktvb.com. Here on Monday, though, I've finally gotten some responses from the Idaho GOP and the Ada County Republicans. The responses here today, and they told us that they were surprised by the sudden action of the county chair, the 3 vice chairs, the treasurer, and a state committee woman. And we'll start with the Ada County Republican Central Committee's response. And to go back to Friday, I want to better describe the departures in terms of the structure of the county party. So 6 people left, which matters, but it is a large political group, as the Ada County GOP tells us. Today, quote, the Ada County Republican Central Committee board consists of 21 members, 9 officers, 11 legislative district chairs, and the Region 4 chair. So you can see the breakdown on your screen there. So simple math, 6 members left. In the statement from the county's party publicity chair tells us today, the remaining 15 voting members of the executive board disagree with the small minority group of 6 officers who abandoned their leadership posts at a critical time. The rest of our central committee is working hard to help capable leadership with the next municipal election. Statement goes on to say some action items, quote, the resignations of the 6 officers have triggered a necessary financial review. We will meet soon to fill the vacancies, finish the work on this pivotal election, and establish a path to move forward as a more unified county committee. So we will circle back with the Ada County GOP soon. They have to do some financial reviews and get some more specifics there, so we will get back to them, though. Meanwhile, the Idaho GOP, the state party, they also responded today. When the Ada team left, the 6 officers listed 5 core reasons for why they were stepping down, and each of those points have been addressed in the response today by the state party. But we don't have time to go through the entire letter, but I'll tell you this. The bottom line here, it can be summed up in the final paragraph in the Idaho GOP statement, saying, quote, these accusations from the former officers are little more than projection and sour grapes from an old guard that is angry about losing their own power. The Idaho Republican Party will continue fighting for faith, family, and freedom and representing everyone who stands for Idaho values. Turning to viewer questions, we always keep an eye on the inbox, so even if we don't get it to the day that you send it in, we will still try and get an answer for you. So here's one, though, that looks a bit back. No problem looking it up, though. Virginia Morris typed into us asking, which of Idaho's U.S. congressmen and senators voted for the bipartisan infrastructure bill? All right, so this was a few years back, and Idaho's delegation was actually split on this. Over in the U.S. Senate, both Idaho Senators Risch and Crapo voted yes. Over in the House, Idaho's Congressman Mike Simpson and Russ Fulcher voted no. Have you ever heard of PFOS? Well, it's been in the news recently for contaminating water, but what you might not know is it's basically everywhere. A new national study says that 45% of U.S. tap water has at least one type of synthetic chemical in it. And our Sophia Bliss looked into two different studies that found these chemicals in the Northwest.
Almost half the country's tap water, 45%, has potentially dangerous chemicals in it. That's according to a study by the U.S. Geological Survey. And a separate study found those chemicals in some of Boise's water. PFOS, per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, are a family of man-made chemicals. They're also known as forever chemicals because they stay in the environment for thousands of years. And studies show they can cause health problems in people and animals. While PFOS are usually found in nonstick items and things that are stain, water, and fire resistant, scientists say
They're everywhere.
they're basically in everything we use, wear, and eat. The CDC says they're in things like shampoo, dental floss, makeup, microwave popcorn bags, pizza boxes, just to name a few.
Everywhere we look, there's PFOS in rivers, drinking water, surface waters, groundwater.
The USGS says more than 12,000 types of these chemicals exist, but current testing can only find about 30 of them. Because there are so many and they're in a variety of products, understanding PFOS's potential health risks to people is difficult. But the EPA says studies show links between exposure to PFOS and health problems like reproductive issues, developmental delays in kids, cancer, weaker immune systems, and interference with hormones.
PFOS is an endocrine disruptor at low levels. And that's very important for our system, especially if you're a woman who's pregnant or you're breastfeeding or you have young children. We don't want to impact their future, their endocrine system with these compounds. But in the young kids, we're not going to see the effects for probably 20, 30 years.
Two recent studies looked at levels of PFOS in the water around the Boise area. The USGS conducted one, and researchers from the College of Southern Nevada, a community college in Clark County, Nevada, did the other. The U.S. Geological Survey took samples from people's taps, with water coming from a Boise water utility, Veolia. They found no PFOS in the one sample they took. But downstream from the Boise wastewater treatment plant, researchers did find PFOS in samples.
What we found in Boise, of the 7 compounds of PFOS, we came across 5 that are definitely present, while 3 were relatively high.
Dr. Douglas Sims is a dean and environmental science professor at the College of Southern Nevada. He's also a geochemist who's been doing this kind of research for 10 years. The USGS and Dr. Sims' team used 2 different testing methods. Dr. Sims used one approved by the EPA. So PFOS have been around since the 1940s. Why are they important to keep track of?
And that's the real concern, is that why do we do this is we want to know what's going to happen, not today, because there's not much we can do, what's going to happen downstream and what's going to happen to the food web. Because these levels, while relatively low, are very high for organisms within the waters.
These types of chemicals are measured in parts per billion or parts per trillion. So even at very low levels, PFOS have the potential to affect human health. The College of Southern Nevada researchers took samples as part of a larger study looking at the western U.S.
We looked at every river that we could, mainly through populated cities.
Overall, they found PFOS concentrations proportional to population, meaning the more people, the higher the concentrations.
The Boise River is a great example of a river that originates in a non-populated area, goes through a populated area, and then exits back into a non-popular raw area.
Even in areas where there aren't many people, they found human impact.
A lot of those compounds are become what we call aerolized. It's in the rains because it's on the winds, gets in the clouds, drops into a raw area, the wilderness, and ends up in the river at low levels. Our impact to that river as humans, the anthropogenic effect, is clearly seen within the actual water chemistry when you look at what's present in the water.
Officials have found PFOS in southern Idaho before. The Idaho Department of Environmental Quality found them on Mountain Home Air Force Base and at Gowan Field, prompting the military to take action and start sampling water this year. The Idaho DEQ says the chemicals were found in a Mountain Home preschool's well, along with local public water systems that serve about 260,000 people in Ada County. PFOS aren't the only substances Sims and his team tested for. In their water samples from Boise, Dr. Sims and his team also found pharmaceutical and recreational drugs. Currently, there are no regulations federally around levels of PFOS in the water or in the air. But there are some proposals in the works. The EPA is working to set limits in public drinking water systems. Once that's finalized, the government could require mitigation if concentrations get too high. Some states, including Washington and Oregon, are working to limit PFOS through legislation. Idaho doesn't have anything in the works that would do the same. But Dr. Sims says we can all try to limit our exposure to protect our health and the health of future generations.
PFOS is there. It's here for a long time, and our goal is to get ahead of it and definitely making the public aware.
Well, we'll see if this comes up at the legislature this year. But Sims says that we shouldn't store large amounts of bottled foods or drinks in our garages. The heat in your garage can cause chemicals from the bottles to get into whatever is inside the container. He also suggests only buying what you need for 1 week at a time. That way the bottles don't sit for too long and allow chemicals to leach out over time.
Inscriptions on the rocks that you don't know what they mean. It's just fun to try to figure it out.
On this Indigenous Peoples Day, we are exploring Idaho. And ahead, we have a special look back on the history and the art in our area. Also looking to hear from you on this Monday. Thoughts, comments, questions, whatever it is, send it our way. Here's our number, 208-321-5614. Send us a text message, but please be sure to include your name and hashtag the 208 so we know it's for us. And yes, we will be reading and answering some of these live at the end of the show. Two years ago, President Joe Biden officially commemorated Indigenous Peoples Day to help give Native Americans a stronger voice in federal affairs. It also shifted the focus from explorer Christopher Columbus, who colonized parts of America, to the people who were tragically affected by colonization. And that day is today. And to celebrate and honor the deep history of Indigenous people in our state, we're taking a look back at the oldest artistic designs known to man that have ancient beginnings and modern-day influence. You can find petroglyphs carved on boulders all throughout the Gem State. And we're going to take you back in time, 29 years, to learn about this Native American's art in today's Exploring Idaho Redial. Here's Dee Sargent.
The beginnings of art lie in the canyons and on the plains of Idaho. Thousands of years ago, the people who lived here etched their traditions and their visions into rock. They're called petroglyphs, and amazingly, they've endured thousands of years of wind, sun, and rain. Celebration Park sits at River's Edge on the north side of the Snake. It's one of the many sites in Idaho where you can find petroglyphs. Between 12 and 15,000 years ago, the Great Bonneville Flood carried huge boulders to the area like they were pebbles. When the flood retreated, water-worn rocks stayed behind. Early humans etched these smooth surfaces with elaborate symbols.
They just take a little hammer stone and they just get here and go peck, 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 and you can see the individual pecks often.
John Curtis is a retired scientist. He has studied petroglyphs for 15 years.
One of the characteristics here is the arrays of dots, which are all over in the Snake River Valley.
Curtis thinks early Paiute Indians made these images, but he'll rarely guess what they mean.
I don't think anybody can interpret petroglyphs who was not really living here at the time they were made.
Even if we don't know the exact meaning, you can recognize the figures.
There's a sun symbol on that one. That's a mountain sheep symbol. See, this is a lizard rock. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe 5 lizards on this rock.
Circles with dots in the middle. Remember I told you we'll see that a lot?
They are pictures children can relate to. And here today to see the petroglyphs is a Meridian elementary class.
It just looked like a dragonfly.
They've never studied anything like this before. But they're quickly learning.
Petroglyphs? Petroglyphs. Petroglyphs.
There's a lot to learn, even for the casual observer. More than a dozen rocks in Celebration Park are covered with designs. One of the more unusual, this water-carved boulder called Bishop's Chair.
Go down, sit in it.
Curtis thinks this was a sacred site. Native tribes may have used this chair in some religious ceremony, or maybe they just liked the view.
Man is a curious being. Man likes to solve mysteries. And when you find these inscriptions on the rocks that you don't know what they mean, it's just fun to try to figure it out.
There are hundreds of sites to see the petroglyphs and rock paintings throughout the state of Idaho, and that includes Celebration Park, which we just showed you. And you and your family can go visit Celebration Park year-round for day use and camping, and this is just one of the many ways that Native Americans have shaped our state and country in gorgeous ways.
Great shots of that moose north of Ketchum. I will see your moose and raise you a deer. How about that? Look at our time lapse from the May Marina camera in McCall. This little guy was just hanging out, basking in the sun for a couple of hours this afternoon, watching as the clouds spread in over that nice clear blue sky. And as they did, he decided, I lost the sun, so I'm going to go find other things to do. So right now in McCall, it is mostly overcast. We've been up into the low 70s in McCall. We're down to the upper 60s right now. We're also starting to lose warmth here in the Boise area. Our high temperature for today, 85 degrees. That's 5 degrees shy of the record high for today. We're still at a very comfortable 83. Wind is calm, but look at the skies out there. You can tell there is a change brewing, right? And look at temperatures across the Northwest. In particular, it's covered by our icon there on the bottom, but still our bug. But it is only in the upper 60s, I think, 70s in Redding. There we go, mid 70s, 18 degrees cooler than at this point yesterday. Thanks, by the way, control room, for taking that out for me. 18 degrees cooler now, 16 degrees cooler in Bend and in Portland. You can see where that approaching cold front has already had an impact. Here it comes, right? Not hard to spot the cold front on our satellite and radar image. This band of clouds that is moving in towards the east, that is our front. It's already triggering some showers and even some rumbles of thunder and lightning strikes in eastern Owyhee County and portions of the Magic Valley. So Twin Falls area is getting wet right now. We are dry across the Treasure Valley and most of our mountain locations, but I don't know that we'll stay that way for much longer, as we do have some scattered showers that will accompany the front through the evening hours. So don't be surprised if you're out and about by a couple of sprinkles out there and some gusty winds. Tomorrow morning, we'll get a dry slot. So this is our Tuesday morning. We'll dry out. We might see some peaks of sunshine through the clouds, but then later in the day, Tuesday and into Wednesday, this main system, this cold core, the wettest portion of this system will start to drop in, and as it does, it will bring much more widespread rain by Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning. It'll drop snow levels as well. There's the potential for maybe 1/3 of an inch of rain in the Treasure Valley from Tuesday afternoon to Wednesday afternoon. So if you don't have the umbrella or the hooded jacket handy now, you may want to unearth them and have them ready to go for the next couple of days. And then temperatures, that's the other big story with all the changes coming in. Remember, we were at 85 in Boise today, 87 yesterday. Tomorrow afternoon we'll only hit 64. Stanley will only get to 50. We'll see mid 60s over in the Magic Valley as well. So to time it out hour by hour for your Tuesday, we may stay dry through lunchtime, early afternoon. Then the rain likely will fire up for the late afternoon into the commute hours. So if you're thinking of washing the car, you might want to hold off until Thursday, maybe even into Friday. That's when this weather will finally start drying up. In the mountains, places like McCall, high temperatures dip into just the mid 40s by Wednesday. We won't hit the freezing mark in McCall Wednesday morning. We will on Thursday as skies start to clear. We'll drop into the 20s, in fact. But since we won't have precipitation in play at that point, McCall, which sits at 5,000 feet, will not see snow. But Tuesday and Wednesday morning, Stanley potentially could. Top of Bogus Basin possibly could as well. So we'll keep an eye on that snow stake at Bogus for the first time this year. We'll see how that shakes out. It is pretty safe to say, though, we'll have off and on showers through at least Wednesday afternoon, and that Wednesday temperature, not a typo, Joe, will only hit 57 degrees in Boise on Wednesday. But the good news is we rebound back into the upper 60s, even low 70s for the weekend. So eclipse time on Saturday might be a little cloudy. We'll keep an eye on that Saturday morning. But all in all, temperature-wise, if you can get through Wednesday, I think we're good to go.
Well, I can also, I mean, if you take a look at the overnight lows, you know, they're a little bit chilly, but in terms of like looking for things to do with the family after work or during the lunch hour, it's gorgeous out there.
It is after Wednesday. But yes, after that, things are looking pretty good. Hey, if you don't mind a little bit of rain and wind, I mean, maybe Tuesday and Wednesday are your days, right?
Yeah, you know, it's a little bit of action. You know, we've just had so much heat. It's good to kind of just change things up a little bit here and there. But yeah, as we look into the extended forecast, Rachel, hey, next weekend looks good.
Looks good.
I won't argue with you on that one.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Rachel Garceau, as always, thank you for your time. 208 returns after this. We're going to get to some of your questions, including the big one. There's a common question, Rachel. You have it too. Where's Brian Holmes?
I'm wondering the same thing, just like everybody else. You'll let us know?
Okay, after the break.
Okay.
See, there we go. We made it through Monday. Not a bad start to the week. Let's get some comments here. All right, this person says, does water purification systems able to remove PFOS? So we got a bunch of great questions related to Sophia's story about PFOS and stuff in the water. I'm going to just tell you right now, I am not the expert on that. I'm not going to pretend to answer those for you, but we will get the experts to give us some insight on these really good questions. So the water purification system, that's one question. This person asks, I see large stacks of bottled water sitting outside stores in the sun all the time. Are you saying this is dangerous? That's from Jill in Boise. And so, yes, based on the research there, that's what we're saying is that these plastic bottles, as they get heated up, they can have some chemicals go into the water. But we'll explain more into this tomorrow. Just some insight there from Sophia's story. And this person says, why do food producers use so much plastic packaging? Years ago, glass was the main container of salad dressing, ketchup, mustard, everything. Long story short for you, plastic is a lot cheaper to use than glass. And there's a reason why. You get a refund on the glass that you refund and recycled in some places, not so much plastic. And then this person asked the golden question, when will Brian be back? This week, on Wednesday, Brian Holmes returns from vacation. Mark your calendar right here on KTVB. All right, but I'll be back tomorrow, so see you tomorrow.